Today feels like one of those days when being an Oilers fan is like living inside a movie. A kid breaking out at World Juniors, a defenseman driving half the fan base up the wall, and a massive rookie who's already bulldozing guys in the NHL. All that while the season heats up and every tiny detail might decide whether this team finally blows the doors off or ends up in the almost pile again. You feeling that something big is brewing in Edmonton, or still keeping one skate on the brakes? You won't believe what we've got today. So settle in, toss a like, and let's get right into it. There's a name most folks still don't have memorized, but it might end up being mandatory around here soon. David Lewandowski. He's an Oilers prospect playing for the Saskatoon Blades in the WHL, and he just got the call to represent Germany at the 2026 World Juniors, that same tournament that seems to spit out NHL stars every other year. And he's not going there to blend in. He's going as a legit piece of their lineup. Picture it, a German winger, 6'2", built, leading his WHL teams forwards in points and on pace for over 70 this season after putting up 39 in his draft year. That's not a small jump. That's the arc of a player figuring out his ceiling. And for an organization that always needs affordable, homegrown talent pushing upward, news like this can totally shift the mood about what lies beyond NHL ice. And it's not just junior stats. Lewandowski's been wearing Germany's colors forever. Under 16, under 17, under 18, under 20. He's already played a World Juniors and felt the weight of the Bundesadler in big games. That matters. He's not the type to freeze when the rink goes nuts in St. Paul and Minneapolis between December 26th and January 5th. He's used to heavy atmospheres. Inside Germany's lineup, he's no seat filler. With his NHL-ready shot, physical presence, and three-zone awareness, he's a strong candidate for a top six role at even strength, even if he doesn't crack the main special teams units this time. And for a team coming in as an underdog against Canada, the States, Sweden, and the rest of the heavy hitters, a guy like that can be the spark for a historic upset. Now think about how that plays in Edmonton. If this kid pops off at World Juniors against the very nations people use as measuring sticks, his reputation jumps from mid-draft gamble to potential steal who might turn into an NHL contributor down the line. For a franchise that needs real value outside the first round, watching Lewandowski plant his flag on a stage like that is a reminder that scouting and development might actually be clicking. And while we're all processing the idea of an under-the-radar German making noise with an Oilers logo behind him, there's another name in town who's no mystery to anyone around here. And he keeps the entire fan base bouncing between pure love and wanting to yank their hair out. So let's talk about the guy who can make Oilers fans shout Norris 1 minute and threaten to shut the TV off the next. Evan Bouchard. His 2025-26 season has basically turned Edmonton into a city-wide emotional experiment, and it's not hard to see why. When he's dialed in, he looks elite. He drives play, controls the pace on the power play, sees passing lanes other guys wouldn't even consider, and turns a simple breakout into a greater chance. When he's in chaos mode, he's a turnover machine, shaky under pressure, and throws the fan base into that eternal loop of how can someone this good do something like that. The start of the season was more of the same stuff nobody's got patience for anymore. Defensive lapses, loose coverage, slow decisions, hesitation in his own end. With a big contract on a team that's either in the cup hunt or failing, every mistake felt twice as painful. Fans and media hit their limit, and the post-game cliché kept rolling out. I need to be better. But the real question never changes. How do you flip that switch consistently? The answer started showing up in November, and suddenly the story shifted. Over the last stretch of games, he piled up points, started leaning on that heavy shot from the blue line again, handed out assists like a top-end quarterback, and most importantly, controlled play at 5-on-5 with a lot more confidence. His ice time climbed, his plus-minus bounced back, and his pairing with Matthias Ekholm began looking like one of the most dominant duos in the league in terms of transition and driving offense from the back end. When Bouchard plays at that level, the whole Oilers system breathes. Breakouts stay clean, the attack enters with control, and next thing you know, McDavid, Draisaitl, and the crew are getting the puck in spots that hurt. But then comes the paradox that drives this city nuts. Bad Bouchard never disappears entirely. That slow starting, Occasionally spacey defender still shows up, especially early in the year. And that's why his mistakes sting. His ceiling is so high that any slip feels unforgivable. Nobody melts down like this over a third pair guy. They melt down over Bouchard because they've seen the elite version. The strategic question for the Oilers is simple and ruthless. This team lives and dies with good Bouchard. The system needs active defense, quick puck movement, and the courage to push pace non-stop. When he's confident, the team swarms, suffocates opponents, and looks like a real contender. When he's off, Edmonton looks like a ship taking on water. That's the nature of high-risk, high-reward hockey. And in his case, the reward is way too good to walk away from. So the question for fans is this: do you accept the full package, the painful mistakes and the brilliant moments, in exchange for a real shot at explosive offense? Because whether you love it or not, this boom or bust version of Bouchard is what the Oilers are betting their present on. And while we try not to lose our minds with every breakout of his, there's another guy in Edmonton getting attention for reasons that feel completely different. Pure grit, pure energy, and the vibe of a hidden gem every contender dreams of uncovering. So let's talk about the kid who arrived without fanfare, but is doing everything he can to become a favorite of the old-school Oilers crowd. Connor Clattenburg, on a team that was short on physical presence and had no Phil Pitt long-term injured reserve. Calling up Clattenburg wasn't just patchwork. It was a full-on call for intelligent toughness on the fourth line. And at 20, he grabbed the opportunity like he's been waiting his whole life for it. Remember, he was a fifth-round pick in 2024. Statistically, guys drafted there have maybe a 1 in 3 chance of ever touching NHL ice, let alone this early. But Clattenburg clearly didn't read that scouting report. With only a handful of AHL games under his belt in his first full pro season with Bakersfield, he already stood out enough to earn the call win. The door cracked open, and from the moment he arrived, the narrative flipped from who is this guy to did we just find a hidden gem. In his first few games, he checked every box. A goal in his second NHL outing, a fight in the next, constant physical presence, and most importantly, he didn't blow assignments defensively. He's not just a big body running around. He's sitting on the plus side of the ledger, proving he can survive tough minutes on a fourth line. For a contender, having a young, cheap player who doesn't sink a line is gold. And the part that makes longtime Oilers fans grin: his style. 6'2", 230 pounds, throwing his weight around every shift. In just 5 games, he racked up 17 hits, putting him at the top of the team in hits per hour, averaging over 28 per 60, miles ahead of the next guy. That's wild for someone who just got here. Even if that pace cools, it's obvious he's built to be one of the team's hit leaders over a full season. And it's not just smashing bodies. In shot blocks, the pattern continues. Small raw totals, huge impact per hour. He's already in the team's top 10 there. And among forwards, sits right behind more seasoned names like Adam Enrique. That goes a long way toward explaining his early plus-minus. It shows he reads the play defensively, closes shooting lanes, and sacrifices when needed. For a fifth-rounder, that screams playoff useful from a mile away. Roster-wise, the impact is massive. If Clattenburg keeps this up and locks down a spot, the Oilers might actually feel comfortable letting depth guys like Curtis Lazar or David Thomas move on at some point, freeing up salary space and lineup flexibility. In a league where hitting on late-round picks is what separates middling teams from sustainable contenders, finding a piece like this changes everything. He's already the first player from his draft round in 2024 to reach the NHL, which says a lot about how fast he's tracking. Is it too early to declare his ceiling? Absolutely. The sample size is tiny, and any serious analyst will pump the brakes on advanced numbers until there's more to work with. But when you look at the whole package, the physical tools, the intensity, the immediate impact, the per-hour metrics, and the roster context, it's tough not to get excited. For Oilers fans, Clattenburg feels like that blue-collar type who might never dominate highlights, but can swing a playoff series with a stretch of heavy shifts. And when you stack that toughness on top of the skill coming up and the stars already carrying this team, you can feel something taking shape. It leaves the big question hanging in the cold Alberta air. Is this finally the moment this group turns all that potential into a real cup run? Now that we've talked about a World Juniors breakout candidate, a defenseman living on the edge between brilliance and chaos, and a heavy-hitting rookie carving out a role on the fourth line, you can feel the Oilers sitting at a crossroads in the McDavid-Draisaitl era. Any one of these pieces could be the spark that shifts potential into something real. And you, are you buying into this path? Or do you still think something big is missing? Drop a comment, hit like, subscribe, and let's ride this roller coaster together.